Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Bobby. We've got Observation Rob, Scott, and Justin. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Doing great, guys. Jesus, man, these weeks fly by, don't they?
Absolutely. Week 3,
Week three.
episode 3.
Seems like yesterday.
We got a special guest, two special guests. One being Gary Raven. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Um, so just to give everybody a heads up, this week's episode, Gary Raven, we got Mark Setzer on in the waiting room. He'll be joining us after Gary. Um, Gary, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and get everything started?
Okay. Well, I'm just an old racing guy that's been beat around the bushes a few times, and I was kind of a late bloomer. Got into racing kind of late. I worked for a company, well known, General Electric, for 38 years, and got into racing because of my cousin got me in. He was a tire changer back in the day, and he was actually the tire changer for Ernie Irvan when he first started. And so he wanted somebody to go to the races with him, and so we were just called weekend warriors then. And so that's how I got started in it. The first race I actually worked at was at Charlotte in late, I guess, October of 79, 80. Actually ran tires between Bud Moore and Dave Marcus. But back in those days, they would just grab anybody they could to get things done. It's not nothing like it is today. But my dad took me to my very first race in May of 1963 at the old Spartanburg, South Carolina Fairgrounds, and I was hooked from the first time I saw it, and have been hooked ever since. So now I tell people I got to live a dream.
Wow, 1963.
Yeah, I'm old.
Oh,
So, Gary, you had a background in racing. You were a crew chief at one time for Morgan Shepherd. You
Yes,
said
sir.
you did stuff back with Ernie Irvan with your cousin. Yours, your cousin, right, or was it brother?
Yeah, he was my cousin.
Cousin.
His name
So,
was Donald Fan, and he we used to travel to the races together, and I got in it for a while, then we got out of it, then we got back in it. Worked a few races with the 25 car, Big Johnson T-shirt car, there for a couple of races, several races in Talladega and places, and that was a pretty cool deal. And then got really back involved in it back with Jimmy Means. And Jimmy is the one that really kind of taught me back into getting into it really good. And so I worked with them a lot on just about every weekend in the races. And that's how I got going back in it.
so who are the drivers that you worked with when during your racing career with NASCAR?
Well, I've worked with Lake Speed, Morgan Shepherd, uh, Johnny Rumley, Kurt Shelberdine. Um, Trying to think who else. Donnie Neuenberger, Joey Gage. Uh, Gosh, I'm trying to think of all of them. Of course, Jeremy and I know I'm leaving out some because Jimmy had several different drivers that we ran with.
How many years? Sorry, go ahead.
Kevin Page was one of them. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious, how many years were you with Jimmy Means doing that, and what were you doing while you were with him?
Uh, I started with Jimmy probably around two, 2000, to 2003 or four, somewhere along in there. Um, I got involved with it because one of the sponsors for that was trying to get on board. I knew the vendor, and he wanted to get involved in racing, and I kind of put him and Jimmy together. And then they got Donnie Neuenberger to drive the car, and it was a Quaker State Quaker City Castings car, and so I got involved with that, and then I guess my first job over the wall was cleaning the windshield on the 25 car. That was the first time going over the wall. And then when I got with Jimmy and them, I did the catch can man. So back then we had the old redhead fuel cells, and you had to have, fuel cans, and you had to have the catch can man. And I did the catch can for a long time before I actually started fueling. But I've done it all. I've jacked cars, I've changed tires, I've carried tires, I've done everything.
So Gary, based off of nowadays, right? I mean, are they a little faster now than they were back in your day?
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Just a dash.
You got a lot better equipment than you had back when I first got started.
They're a little more athletic.
I could tell you a real funny story, and the tire guy for Jeremy right now would laugh if he's listening to this. But him and I were working with Morgan Shepherd at in New York at the road course there, and there was just the two of us. So we would come in, I would jack the car up, we'd change the tires, and we had two air guns. And the air gun he had on the front tire, it would only work one way. So he had to pull the air loose to get it to change and then pop it back on. So it was just crazy stuff like that. But then he would go out and come back around, then I would fuel the car and then he'd go back out again. So, that's how crazy it used to be.
Wow.
So Gary, after before these cars were real aero sensitive, were you guys doing some stuff to make the cars faster? Anything that was kind of not in NASCAR's black and white book, maybe gray?
Well, yes and no. It got tougher through the years. I remember the car we bought that Jimmy and them had bought the first year we went to Daytona with it. It was a car we had bought from Harvick, and Harvick, they had tricked the car up a little bit. And, back in those days, you build everything to the offset, and we had to wind up moving the trunk over almost a quarter of an inch because they had pulled the back of the car over so to create the downforce on the rear deck. And so when we went through tech, that's the first thing they noticed. And so we had to spend half a day redoing the back of the car. But that was really just something that, lack of experience for us catching. But we used to do, some things, but that's one of the things I don't like about the way that things are now. They took the ingenuity out of it. Because now with everything with these lasers and all, you can't, it's just, to me, it's high rock racing.
I'm with you, Gary, right? You can't get creative anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I remember at Darlington this year, myself and Jeff Bodine were talking about that. And, it's just, they took the ingenuity out of it as far as, the back, I guess you say the shade tree mechanic out of it.
So Gary, any cool stories from the garage of that you would like to share with us and the listeners?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, most of the time, do I? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm like, well, we're going. I mean, I'm sure you have just a few. So
I mean, any really good ones that you can think of?
Well, I tell people on a lot of times that the most funny one to me was I was with Morgan, and we were at Bristol, and I had been working with Jimmy, and I had been jacking the car for Jimmy, and he had a 3-pump jack, and nobody had told me that Morgan's was a 2-pump jack. So if anybody's ever done any jacking on these cars, you know it takes that first hit, you got to jump on it pretty hard, even with a 3-point. But we came in for our first stop, and I slung the jack under there, and I went to jump on it, and it wouldn't move, and my feet come up off the ground, and like I turned to flip over the handle. And we all looked at one another, and I jumped on it again, and then one of the tire guys jumped on my back, and he had enough weight to raise the car up. So that was kind of crazy. And then again, we were when I was with the 25 car, we had I was doing the catch can, and we were at Talladega, and Hank Parker Jr. had gotten into a wreck. In fact, we got in it too, but we wasn't too bad damage. It was like 3 laps to go, and we came in, and I was back there holding the can up and holding the overflow can, and Hank Parker Jr. comes sliding in the pits behind us with 4 flat tires, and I just happened to turn around and see him, and I jumped and landed on his hood. So that's just kind of crazy things that happen.
and that's before they made you wear helmets.
Yeah, that was you didn't wear any of that safety stuff back then.
Yeah, you guys are ripping Marb Reds, just wearing the short sleeve shirt, living dangerously.
Oh yeah, I tell you though, that race fuel, it'll burn you in a hurry.
Yeah, back then they said that built character, right, Gary?
Yeah, right. You used a lot of that SD20 cleaner on you real quick if that stuff got on you. That happened to me at Phoenix. We came in for a fuel stop, and a lot of times the old cans would flip back on you and drown you back, and it just flooded me. And after the stop was over with, it started burning me pretty bad. I came across the wall just pulling clothes off, grabbing cans and trying to wash the stuff off of me. It will burn you good. But I guess the craziest thing I'd have to say happened was the day we won Road America. We had the first pit stop. In fact, that was the last time that I fueled the car over the pit wall. And our first pit stop, we had a new guy that was on the jack. And I had told him that I would nod my head when I got the thing full and drop the jack. Well, he dropped the jack before it was full. And I had probably, I don't know, four gallons left in the can. And it was just enough. And if anybody knows that on the road courses, the fuel thing is kind of the opposite angle because it's on the opposite side of the car. And when he dropped the jack, it hung the can. And well, the first thought in my head was not to let that can go across the line because that's a lap penalty. So I just threw the can. And of course, it threw me off balance. And I just tucked and rolled, and I landed at the front tire changer's feet. He looked at me right funny. He says, "You okay?" I said, "I think so."
You're going, I didn't nod, bro. I didn't nod.
Yeah. And then so that was kind of a funny story. Then we wound up winning the race, and that just I had a nice bruise on my ribs where I hit the side of that can, but I didn't care after winning the race.
Wasn't there another incident at Road America too, where somebody fell off the pit box or something during in the celebration of the race or something? I thought I heard a story about that one.
I don't know. did. I didn't know about it.
I thought Rob from Whitetail fell off the pit box at Daytona.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was Daytona.
I think
Yeah,
they've got a good video. I think they've got a pretty good video of it.
Yeah, it was on Daytona. Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's where I got it confused. Was that in Road America?
Yeah, it's but yeah, that first win at Road America, man, that was just you never forget your first win. It's just it was a special day.
Yeah, and Gary, right, as a Wisconsin guy, right, and as observation, Rob's a Wisconsin guy, right? We love that first win came in the great state of Wisconsin, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, I love that racetrack. It's a great racetrack.
Yeah, don't get me started, Gary. I'll start crying and stuff tonight at the fact that you guys aren't coming back. So that just is what it is. That's a topic for a different day.
I think the most dramatic thing about that race to me was that when we made our last pit stop, we were 11.2 seconds behind, and we made up that 11 seconds in 4 laps. That was just amazing to me.
Yeah, I think right, Gary, and you've been around Jeremy Clements racing a long time. I think that's one of those things that I feel like those road courses, in a sense, almost are a little bit of an equalizer when it comes to, equipment, just great equipment versus a talented driver behind the wheel. And I think that's one of the reasons that Jeremy does so well at a lot of those road courses is it's more of that equalizer from, yeah, he might be running some older chassis, yada, yada, yada. But these younger guys, right, with not as nearly as many laps as Jeremy has, I think that's where he makes up a lot of that speed. I don't know if you'd agree with me after all your years of racing.
Well, yeah, it makes a big difference. A lot of the younger guys, some of these young kids now, they in such, good equipment until it's just hard to compete. But like you say, on a road course like that, the cars, unless you just really way off the pace, you can pretty well hang in there with them. And I think that makes a big difference. And I think that helps Jeremy and them on the road courses. And of course, he's a pretty good road course driver anyhow.
Yeah, which is funny, right? That's so far from his background. So
I always kidded him about that. He said, well, it must come from his go-kart years.
Yeah, we'd like to think it's that Wisconsin luck, right?
Well, that's like I always said, I'd rather be lucky and good any day.
Oh yeah.
So since we're talking about Road America, let me throw this out. What was your thought when Jeremy and Matt Tiff got into it coming to the start finish line?
I won't tell you what I said. Oh, well, yeah, but we were way down on the other end of the pit road down there, and I mean, we had no idea what was going on. And then we heard everybody hollering and stuff, and then all of a sudden, I mean, we had a TV screen that we were watching on the guys next door to us had their big pit box, and they had TV cameras and stuff, and they were showing it and everything, and we're saying, "Dang!" And then he got going, and we was like, "Yeah." But that last lap, it seemed like it took it 30 minutes to get back around that last lap.
So I got another question for you, Gary. So
Okay.
You were on the team in 2017 at Road America when Jeremy won the Johnsonville 180 race that we were just talking about. And then you obviously were on the team in 2021 when Jeremy won the Wawa 250 at Daytona.
Yeah.
So other than those two, I would say those would be two of your biggest, memory or best memories of your racing career, those two big wins. What other racing memories do you have that rank up there with those wins?
Oh, wow. I have to say my first true crew chiefing job with Morgan at Daytona. that ranked up there pretty high, and it didn't dawn on me until later on that how big that was. Um, Showing you as the crew chief, uh, having the cameras on you during qualifying and that kind of thing, and asking you questions and talking to you on TV, and that. After I got back home, I remember thinking, "Golly, that was really cool." But I mean, I've had so many times, and then I've had so many disappointments. I would have to say I've had more disappointments than I've had glories. Not making races with Morgan, and not making races with Jimmy. That's tough, and especially on a small team that's puts all their souls and guts into that car to try to make it go, and you miss a race by a tenth of a second, and that kind of thing. It deflates you. So you have your ups and downs in this business.
Yeah, that you do.
So Gary, you mentioned, how long you've been involved with racing. How did you get involved with Jeremy, and what made you go to work for him?
Well, it was kind of funny. And Morgan and I, we talked, and kind of he wanted to go in a different direction, and I told him that was fine. I had no issues with that, and so we kind of parted ways, and we're still friends. I talk to him as much as I can, and I went back. In fact, I had a week off, and I was in here ironing shirts one Monday morning, and my phone rings, and it was Jimmy Means, and Jimmy says, "What are you doing?" I told him I was ironing, and he busted out laughing. And so he asked me to come back and work with him, and I did, and I went back and worked with him for the rest of the season. And then we went back in January and was working up there at his shop, getting ready for the Daytona. And we went to lunch one day, and when I come back from lunch, my phone rang, and it was Ricky Pearson, which was the crew chief for Jeremy at that time, and called and asked me about coming to work for him. And I said, "Well, let me think about it for a few minutes, and I'll let you know." And so it wasn't 10 minutes later till my phone rang again, and it was another team calling me for a truck team. And I told them kind of the same thing. And then it wasn't 20 minutes later till my phone rang, and a Cup team was asking me to come to work for them. So I went home, talked about it, discussed it, and I said, Jeremy and them is right here in my back door. I'm 15 minutes from the shop. It's 30 minutes to Jimmy's shop, and it was an hour drive to Morgan's shop. And I said, "Well, I think I'll just go with them." I had been talking to them, and so I called Ricky back and told him that I would take it, and that's how I got started with them. And that was in 2013, I guess.
Wow. That's a shorter drive, if you're having shop beers, right, Gary?
Yeah.
Shop beers in Charlotte are a little different than shop beers in Spartanburg.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So you can ask Mark about that long travel every day he makes. Bless his heart. I know how it is.
So the last question we've got for you, I saved this one because obviously I told you I was going to ask you a while ago, but how does it feel to be retired now since it's been a little over a month, 2 months?
Yeah, it's well, I really hadn't had time to slow up and think about it too much, but it's I guess you'd say it's kind of happy and sad at the same time. I know it's going to be more sad when it comes time to load up for Daytona. But by the way, I will be in Daytona. I got invited to do the Back to the Roots celebration thing down there in Daytona to come and sign autographs and stuff down there. And so I'm going to go to Daytona and do that. And since I'm going to be down there, I told Jeremy that I would help them out or do whatever you need me to do, or I'll just sit up on the pit box.
There you go.
But whatever. But I just, like I say, I got through doing the stocks for tots back, I guess it was last week. And that was a busy, crazy time. There was a ton of people at that thing. Enjoyed doing it. It's a great charity event. And a lot of the drivers and old drivers and crew chiefs and crew people and all are there. And I know probably some of you seen pictures of it and everything. There was a ton of people there. And like I say, I took 250 postcards and I signed 210. So it was kind of wild.
Well, since you are retired, and I don't know if anybody can see this back here, but that's Gary's hero card. How does people get a hold of that now? Do they send it to your house or?
Yeah, they can. They can just send me a note or whatever to my attention. My address is 122 North Packlet Road, Campobello, South Carolina. And I'll be glad to.
I love it, Gary. You have your own hero card?
Yeah.
That's how you know you made it, brother.
Yeah, it's that was kind of crazy. That I had to do that for the first time. I did the stocks for tots about year before last. I didn't get to do it last year because I had took a bad fall and tore my shoulder all to pieces. And this time last year, I was in a sling and couldn't do too much.
So then since you retired, Gary, so you know how you were telling the story how the last time you switched teams, right? You had 3 different phone calls. So now that you're in retirement, how many phone calls have you received?
None.
Ah, that happens.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm 72 years old, and you have to admit that at one time there, myself and Jimmy Means were the oldest people going over the pit wall.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
actually, they made the rule for, if you'll notice nowadays, that the gas guy is standing there with the can when the car gets into the pits. I was kind of the reason that they changed that rule, because I would sit on the pit wall and have them hand me the can, but they would tell me I couldn't put my feet on the ground. I had to keep my feet off the ground, or they would count it as being over the wall too early. So that's how that really got started. And we had some, back in the day, we had some great officials. They were tough, but they were good guys. And I still stay in contact with a few of them.
Well, we got a bunch of people in the chat saying Merry Christmas to everybody. So I want to say Merry Christmas to everybody in the chat. Gary, I'll let you wrap up what you want to say.
Well, I appreciate what y'all guys are doing. I think it's great that you're bringing more of attention to Jeremy Clements Racing, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I know Mark and the guys, they be working hard, I know, and getting ready. And I appreciate all the sponsors that have come on. Jeremy has worked hard to get those sponsors and get them involved, and we have some great sponsors. And I know I appreciate them, and I know he does. And I just hope that the 24 season is a little better than the 23.
Absolutely.
We didn't have, if it wasn't for bad luck, we wouldn't have none at all this year. But other than that, I appreciate the opportunity for being on, and wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah, absolutely. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. You also.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good seeing you, Gary.
Yes, sir.
Take care, brother. I'll let the boys know next time I'm selling booze down in South Carolina.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. And you have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, my friend.
You do the same.
Talk to you
Yep.
soon.
And we're like, Gary's like, all right, so how are we leaving? What do we do now? Oh, there we go.
All right, so now we're getting ready for Mark. Guys, we have 11 people in the chat. I want to say thank you to everybody that's out there watching. And like I said, Merry Christmas, everybody. I see your comments. If you have any questions for Mark, go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll try to get to it. We are still having technical issues with Spotify. Scott can agree with that.
Is that because we're not cool enough?
I guess maybe hey, maybe this racing with Spotify is just a taboo subject for them.
If I could picture a bunch of Spotify executives sitting in a room, I doubt they've I could just see them being like, NASCAR, what's NASCAR?
Jeez.
Or they
Is that
could
where
be
they drive around in circles?
They could be Facebook fact checkers too.
Dude, they're all probably 27 years old and geniuses, and I don't know. I'm picturing Spotify's group. I don't think they're down with NASCAR. I could be, Bobby, I could be wrong. If I had to guess, the talking heads at Spotify are probably not huge NASCAR fans.
Maybe.
I think we need to grow the group past 11, maybe.
I think I agree.
Yeah. Maybe 13 or 14. That might get us into that upper echelon of Spotify,
that might put us over the edge.
Yeah,
over the edge.
Hey, next episode, if we get to 15,
We're at
cooking.
15 right now.
What? Oh my God. All right.
All right.
Okay.
So with that being said, we're gonna bring Mark in here.
Okay, Justin,
Everybody
where's
bring your A
manager?
game.
Let's go.
Okay.
Do
Don't
your
freak out.
20.
Don't
Do
freak
your
out.
20.
Don't freak out. Don't freak out. All right. 15 people. All right. Where's Mark?
He's coming instead of joining. There he is. Hey, Mark.
Holy cow. That's a Christmas tree.
How we doing, guys?
Good.
How
How
are
are
you
you?
doing, Mark?
Good.
So, I don't know if you've been watching. Gary was just on. He told us about Road America, Daytona, kind of his story. Now we're gonna get into you. Tell us about how you got into racing, and also about a little bit about you.
Well, I've pretty much been involved in some fashion of racing my whole life. My family grew up. My dad run record service at Hickory Speedway. Him and his brothers had built cars that raced at Hickory. My brother drove, and then I finally had a chance to start driving after working on them for many years. Started driving in 1989, and I raced at Hickory and Tri-County and the surrounding tracks in the Southeast for, well, almost 20 years, I guess. Racing from limited sportsman to late model stocks to late model super trucks. And then I think it was 2008 or 2009, I went to work for Rusty Wallace Racing in the Nationwide Series. And I've been doing something in Nationwide, Xfinity, or the Truck Series, or a short period in the Cup Series ever since.
Mark, I have a question for you. It's pretty direct, actually. The August race at Daytona when Jeremy won, and you guys were DQ'd for the intake manifold being too short per NASCAR's rulebook. How long did it take NASCAR to tear it down and figure out it was too short? And how did NASCAR let you guys know? And what was the appeal process like?
Stressful. they actually they put a seal on the engine, and then it's up to you. You have to bring it to NASCAR's tech center by a certain day. It doesn't have to be that week; it could be weeks later. But the engine has to go up there, and then they tear it down. You have a one of your representatives there to help the disassembly process, and they check everything, and that's when they found it. And so we didn't know anything about it, and then we get a phone call from Wayne Alton, the series director, and it's like, "Hey, Mark, hold on, I got Jeremy on here. Hold on a second, I'm getting Tony on here." And on a three-way call, it's just pretty direct. "Mark, where you've been disqualified from the race, you're being fined X number of dollars, this, that, and the other," and you know, pretty direct and to the point. And so that's when we had to research the appeal process, and we went through that, and we got our day to go and lay out our case, and NASCAR presented their side of it. Then we presented our facts of what we had in front of the panel, and luckily they ruled in our favor because there was nothing about the intake manifold that was a benefit. It was actually it actually hurt power the way the measurement was off. I mean, we're talking about a measurement that was like less than 5 thousandths. Just a couple of sheets of paper thick is all we're talking. So it was very stressful. It really hurt what should have been a very joyous week and party with sponsors and friends, and it was just a very stressful time until we was able to go through that appeals process and luckily have that go in our favor.
Right. And that's the bummer too, right, Mark? Is right, you guys win. Hell yeah, small team, family owned, let's rock, right?
Yep.
And then busted, and then there's no, right, very little chatter post appeal process, right?
Right.
Man, they blasted it all over, you name it, right? Jeremy Clements disqualified from Daytona win, but very little chatter, of course, post appeal.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, they had already moved on to other stories, and it's very unfortunate because we had fans, we had so many sponsors that was reached out, you know, with plans for a big party down at RJ Rockers to have the trophy and the sponsors and everyone there. And then, I mean, 3 days after the race, you get that phone call, or after that process went down. I mean, we didn't even get to enjoy it going into the next race weekend.
Right.
So
then you
it was
then you get
very
slapped with that,
stressful.
yeah, then you get slapped with that possible fine, looking at it going, Jesus, like obviously they don't know what family owned teams pay people. Good Lord.
Exactly.
I'll
Exactly.
be sweeping the shop floor till I'm 92.
Yeah. Well, luckily that's one of the things that we try to address when you take a job, because there's no way that a crew chief like myself could afford the fines that they put out.
Yeah.
On some of these things. The rear bumper cover that they took away from us at Vegas the other year was a $20,000 fine, I believe. So Tony Clements is not very happy when he gets those type of notices or those type of phone calls.
Ooh.
Dang.
We got to get the Driftless Gin on there as a sponsor for fines that we may incur.
Oh God. Yeah. I don't sell that much booze, Mark. I think I'm gonna have to step up my game in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
That's Rob.
Oh, I was just going to ask, what are the challenges of being a crew chief of a small independently owned team where the driver is also the owner of the team? And how does that affect how you call and, you know, your setup, your call, how you call the race and that type of stuff? Are you more hesitant because, you know, if you do something that he doesn't like, you're going to piss him off? or do you just say, hey, I'm making the call, this is the way it's going to be? Or I mean, how does that work between you and Jeremy?
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, Jeremy's been great to work for. I mean, the small team situation, it has its challenges for the simple fact we don't have the payroll to have 8, 9, 10 guys in the shop to help you prepare cars week in and week out, or to prepare cars through this wintertime process. We have a very small group of people. Generally, it's about 4 people in the shop, counting myself. And so it takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and people that are just true racers to understand what it takes to do this sport. And then being located in South Carolina, you're not drawing from that talent pool of around the Mooresville area, Concord area, where the racing is based. So I commute an hour and 25, hour and 30 minutes a day to drive to the shop in South Carolina from where I live. So it has its challenges that way. But as far as how I call a race, I really try not to let that play into it. We are there to race. They give me everything that they can at my disposal to put a car together the best that we can, prepare it the best that we can for Jeremy. And the calls, during the race is just based on that moment. What I think is going to be the best call to keep us on the lead lap, or to get stage points, or to put ourselves in position for the end of the race to get the best finish possible.
And a follow up on that, with sponsors at the race, is there any influence on sponsor? Like, we want to do this, finish this in this position for this race. So do we not take tires to get, stay on, up in the front of the pack? Or, I mean, is there any influence by sponsors on any of your calls at any time?
It can't be a a community process. I make the call. If it doesn't work out and Jeremy gets mad, he gets mad at me. We've had that happen. Car doesn't handle perfect. He's so competitive. He's going to be upset. I don't blame him for being upset. I mean, the fields have, the competition level, the fields have got stronger and stronger over the last several years. And your race, your top 20 teams are Cup affiliated, with engine programs, engineering support, and everything else. So, I mean, for a little team like ours to have made the playoffs 2 out of the 3 years that I've been with Jeremy Clements Racing, has been a huge accomplishment. But no, we can't crew chief by committee. It's my call on what we do, and at the end of the day, I'm going to live and die by those decisions. And if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to sit back and say, well, I shouldn't have listened to so and so. It's my call, and that's what we're going to go with.
Right, Mark, because we know how calm and collected drivers are when the car's not handling well.
Absolutely, yeah, they are. Some of them are very passionate, and Jeremy is that way. I mean, he lives this from the time he gets up to the time he goes to bed, working with sponsors to try to get us the money that we need to field the best cars possible. The radio interviews, just everything that goes along behind the scenes that people just don't know about. Working with trying to get travel arrangements made for 33 races during the season, working with hotel stuff, credentials for sponsors. Someone has to turn all that stuff in, and so there's a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't know, that big teams have people that work on that. And Jeremy is just so involved with every aspect of the team that it's a 7-day-a-week job for him. And he carries it well, but it's definitely a lot on him. And fortunately, we have some great partners and sponsors that help us get through these seasons. And without them, none of this would be possible.
So in other words, without me sending you bottles of booze, you would not get through the season.
Exactly.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear on that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
After the race and the car wasn't handling to Jeremy's liking, then me and Tony can go up there and we can mix us a drink and we'll just drown our sorrows away and then start back over on Monday to figure out how to do it better. Perfect.
So Mark, the 2024 season is gonna be coming around the corner real fast and in a hurry. Can you tell us a little bit about the 24 season and what the plans are?
As Gary was saying, to not be as bad as we were last year with the luck. We had multiple occasions last year and multiple opportunities to have really good finishes that we just had nothing to show for it at the end of the day, from batteries going dead to a loose wheel on a last pit stop to flat tires, you name it. We had it happen. Multiple top 10 finishes that we should have had just doesn't show up on the final finishing position. And a lot of people they don't look at the whole picture. So we had speed at a lot of places. Some places we weren't very good, that we've struggled at, but we're working hard to fix some of that. We're working on trying to do more engine leases through Hendrick Motorsports, to try to take some of the engine, the engine differences out of the equation. So there's a lot of work going on there at the shop, getting cars remeasured to work on the sim process that we're doing through Chevrolet and all the Chevrolet engineering that goes into that. So a lot of different things going on, a lot of great things happening there at Jeremy Clements Racing. And you're right, it's going to be here before you know it. So going to try to get a short little vacation here at the first week of January with the wife before we are wide open for the next 11 months to go racing.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Hendrick engines?
Well, right now, last I spoke to Jeremy, I think we're about 21 races with partners and sponsors that stepped up to try to do an engine lease. So that's huge for the team. I can't say it's 100% done, but last I heard, I think we're at about 21 races to be leasing Hendrick engines for this coming season. So that's a big step for Jeremy Clements Racing.
That's awesome.
So Mark, with the engine leases, is there any races you guys got circled on the calendar as an equalizer?
I mean, the Super Speedway races at Daytona, Talladega, we haven't qualified well there, but our car has always raced really well. Jeremy, will play that waiting game, try to miss the big wrecks. But Atlanta last year, we had great cars at both Atlantas with the engine lease program. Even without the engine lease, I mean, we had a great car at New Hampshire, practiced top 10, qualified well, was running really well, and then got caught up on a restart crash when the leaders were playing games. So Bristol had a super fast car at Bristol, and had a tire rub, hitting a tie rod in. So that caused us to have a flat tire. Took us, never lost a lap on the racetrack. At the end of the race was passing the 8th and 9th place cars on the racetrack, but unfortunately we had lost a lap due to the flat tire and just never could quite get it back. So the engine lease can play whether it's Bristol when we had one or Atlanta, a 1.5 mile track. So it definitely helps when you're talking about having the same thing as the junior motorsports cars. Then it puts it more on the handling, more pressure on me to do, my job to the best of my ability. But it definitely just takes one part out of the equation that you said, well, we're lacking just a little bit right here. So something we're looking forward to.
And then Mark, real quick too. So I'll admit, right? So I'm going to go back to Road America this past summer, and Jeremy went by with 1 lap to go and never came back by again. Right.
Right.
And to this day, right, there's no footage. I don't even really know. I haven't talked to Jeremy about it, but so is it true that Jeb Burton dumped him?
I think it was a combination of Jeb and the Colin car.
16.
Daniel Hemrick. Yeah, it was a combination of Daniel Hemrick and Jeb Burton. I think we were running fifth or sixth
Yeah.
at
Fifth.
Road America with a
Yeah.
backup car.
Yeah. With
With
a full team effort, vinyl wrap job done in less than 24 hours, by the way, right?
Yes, with a backup car
Yeah.
started last,
Yeah.
running I believe fifth or sixth,
Yeah.
coming into the last two turns of the track and get dumped, and you finish 20 something.
All
That's just
because, all because Jeb wanted to finish 9th, not 10th.
right. Yeah,
Jesus. I
yeah.
tell you what.
He's run over us multiple times, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that we could have a whole podcast.
Oh yeah,
about it.
yeah, Mark. We could do our own podcast on last names and how you still have a ride and all that other
Yeah.
fun stuff. But yeah,
But yeah, it's that's just another example of some of the good cars we had. That when people look at the finishing order, well, Jeremy Clements is a good road course racer, right? He finished 25th. Well, because with 2 turns to go, he was running 5th.
God.
But nobody sees that part of it unless you're a true Jeremy Clements fan and you watch the races and you see that kind of stuff. So that's the frustrating part about it. When you have great cars, you don't get those finishes that you deserve. And at the end of the year, everybody's standing back about, well, what happened to them? Why was their season so bad? Well, bad luck, and being around the wrong people at the wrong time. But like I said, there was multiple occasions that we could have had a top 10 and really, had another decent season for the competition level now that's in the Xfinity series compared to what it was just 2 seasons ago.
Man, Mark, I'm gonna miss you at Road America. I know I bring that up a lot on this podcast, but man, again, and it's been such solid runs, especially the last 2 years, right? We had that tire issue 2 years ago, but still, then he still crawled back. I think didn't he end up 9th that?
I believe so. Yeah, we
from
got
dead
spun
last
out, had a flat tire, and came back. And yeah, I just can't believe with the way that the fans support that race. I mean, there was people everywhere, parked, camped, and just an amazing turnout. And for us not to go back to Road America, it's just a shame because it's a beautiful place, beautiful area, and hopefully they get it turned around and we go back there soon.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. I think we'd all agree that's NASCAR's new agenda, right?
Oh yeah,
Let's go race in downtown Chicago, Mark.
Yeah,
let's go. Let's do that.
Yeah, not looking forward to it. Didn't like it the first time. Not looking forward to it the second time.
Same here, man. Same here. I saw a car drive by a skyscraper once. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, we can go home.
Yep, that's right.
So was it as sketchy as everybody said it was?
It had its moments for sure, and just the logistics of everything. It was a mile walk to get back and forth from your transporter. Walking to the hotels, you couldn't park anywhere. We never even got a rental car for that weekend. We flew in on the Gibbs plane, got on a chartered bus to take you over towards the hotel and the racetrack. And just because there's no use in renting a car because there was no place to park or even get close to the racetrack. So you walk back and forth from the hotel to the racetrack. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I know a lot of people loved it. I just wasn't one of them. And I'm not going to say that I'm happy that I'm going back, but we'll go back and take the best prepared car that we can, and maybe we'll have a little bit better luck there. That was another race where we had already made our pit stops and was setting in a great place for the race to go back green, and we do all this work to prepare these cars to race in the rain, and then they cancel it because of rain. So,
weird.
Yep.
But I thought they had those awesome mud flaps that were supposed to prevent the spray.
Oh yeah. Well, we had the mud flaps and the defogger and the flashing tail lights and everything, windshield wipers. But yeah, I guess it was just too much rain for them. But so yeah, that was another one down the drain that we were going to be restarting right there in the top 10, but just didn't get the finish we deserve. So we're going to keep working on it. We got a great group of people behind us, and we're going to do what we can for them for this 2024 season.
God, you know what sucks, Mark? I'm going to have to go to Chicago because that's the closest race, right?
Mhm.
From Madison, Wisconsin area. So
Right.
even though, let's say, we're not huge fans of Chicago, I have to go because otherwise I look like
That's right.
a dickhead if I'm 2 hours from you guys and you're up here and I don't at least stop
And
by.
you don't bring us some more booze, we're going to
I
be
know.
upset.
Yeah.
And but make sure you bring comfortable shoes.
Yes, we'd
good
recommend that.
socks so you don't get blisters from all the walking.
Yeah.
And bring an umbrella.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, hopefully this year no rain. That was like monsoon bizarre weather.
Yeah, I'm not sure my stuff is still dried out from that race. It rained so much. It was
Did you float
something
away?
else. What's that?
I said, did you float away?
If you wouldn't have had stuff tied down, I think some of the stuff would have floated away.
No,
There was that much rain. Yes.
Oh, I saw pictures of on like social media of actual race tires floating
Yeah.
from the pit stalls.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's amazing of some of the stuff that we work through to do this sport that we love. But, at the end of the day, I guess we wouldn't have it any other way.
So to follow up, Mark, you got the challenge of a road course or street course. Then you got super speedways, short tracks, and then you have road courses. So you have to adapt as a crew chief to set up for all of those different types of tracks. What is the most challenging track for you to set up for? I know you guys, I'm assuming, have limited sim time because of being a small team. So I'm guessing that would put you a little bit behind the 8 ball compared to the bigger teams that would get more sim time. So just curious at setups, which is the most challenging?
Good question. You're exactly right on the sim time. It is handed out from big teams down. We're very fortunate that Chevrolet has been a great partner for us, and they do what they can with the time that they have to hand out to people. So we're very appreciative of that. But going to a new track like the Chicago Street Course, where you have no notes to go off of. I've been a crew chief, I think, since 2014. So you build a notebook of going to these tracks for season after season, one or some tracks, 2 tracks, 2 times a year. So you build that notebook and you kind of know what you've done in the past. So you can come up with something that should be drivable for your driver. But when you go to a place like the Chicago Street Course, there were so many unknowns. Knowing you're going to be running over manhole covers and the curbs, the differences between going from asphalt to concrete, the transitions there. So, we were very close to ripping the whole splitter off of our car during the Chicago practice, and had to, just because of not having any notes, having a car too low, and you coming across the bridges and braking to make a 90-degree turn. So I would say it's the new tracks like that, like a Chicago, that you're going to, that you just don't have a notebook of past experience to go off of, would be the most challenging. The other tracks, are very similar. We have so many 1.5-mile tracks. It's about the same, from Charlotte to Texas to Las Vegas. They're so close that you really run something similar at those places. But the road courses, definitely, when you're turning both directions, are definitely challenging.
So Mark, when you guys go to the sim, does the guy on the computer ever kind of chuckle a little bit when you say, "Hey, can you put it in for a 2016 Ganassi chassis?" And he's like, "Shit, I don't have that."
Well, that's yeah, that would be funny. But we actually take all of our chassis to the Chevrolet Tech Center. They measure all the chassis points, all the suspension components, and so they actually can assemble, or they actually do assemble the chassis in the computer program, just like you put it together.
Wow.
down to the wheel spacers, the cambers, shims, caster slugs, everything. And so when it builds the model, it builds the exact car that's going on to the racetrack. Now, the problem is we don't get to go to the wind tunnel. Only the big teams get any of that time, and NASCAR has cut wind tunnel time down from, I think, 30 hours of time that they had last year to only 15 hours of wind tunnel time, period, for each manufacturer. So the chances of getting wind tunnel time is zero. So you have to take in the aero offset, the aero balance of the chassis, or how your bodies are built compared to a Junior Motorsports or a Toyota team, and that kind of thing. So that's a big part of the sim that we have to try to work around. But the chassis wise, yes, we get to test our own chassis, our own springs. We rate the springs there at the Chevrolet Tech Center. We did some of that today, testing all of our bump springs to make sure that they were still rating what they're supposed to when we put them on the car. So that part of it is something that we were able to work through. So it's a cool deal. It's, I'm happy we're getting to do it. And I think it has helped us at some places, but there's been some places that people have seen that, the car hasn't been great. Well, it's a challenge. It's just like we were talking about not having a notebook of going to a racetrack multiple times, where it's the same thing with the sim. This was our first season doing anything with sim. And I told everybody that asked, this isn't going to be a click a button and it prints you out a perfect setup and you go to the racetrack. That's not how this works. You have to build a notebook based off of computer sim, take it to the racetrack, see how it correlates, come back, readjust on the sim to be better the next time. And I think we did that at several places that we were better the second time around. But, now we just switched from a PME type sim to Chevrolet's new sim tool. So now it's basically starting over again with a different tool, but it's going to be much better. We just going to have to get work through it and do our best to make use of the time that we get there at the sim, and see what we can do for our team, for our sponsors and partners, and for all the fans out there that support Jeremy Clements Racing.
Does sim time cost you money, Mark? Like, does it cost the team money?
The actual sim time doesn't. We pay for engineering support. That is who actually puts the models together based off of the information that I give him. So it's basically like us paying for an engineer. But Chevrolet gives us the sim time. Nice. They will measure any car that we take up there. That doesn't cost. They'll measure any number of parts that we want to take up there. If we buy new rear end housings, I bought a bunch of new upper control arms. You take them up there, measure them, they put them in the database, and then that way, if we want to build a car, we take the part numbers from those upper control arms, lower control arms, whatever part it is, and put it with the particular chassis that we're going to run at that track. And that's what we build the sim off of. We were at the sim today for about 3 hours and worked on some stuff for Las Vegas. We were there 2 weeks ago, worked on some stuff for Phoenix. So we're, they're getting some of the stuff worked out on the new sim tool. And, I'm looking forward to being able to go to the track and start getting some more notes on the aero side of it and see if we can't be competing for more and more of these top 10s sooner than later.
So does Chevy share any information among all the teams, like from the bigger teams? I'm assuming they don't share a lot of information, but is there any share of information like with the wind tunnel testing?
It's limited. They're trying to do more and more of some information sharing across the board. As far as like aero balance wise, they're not going to tell anybody how they're building their bodies, exactly. But as far as some basic stuff, they are doing a lot better this year as far as sharing some information across the board, especially with the new sim tool, tire information, on what settings that they're using for the Mew, as far as how much grip that they have on the sim tires. So that's stuff that I think is going to be much better this year, and the teams are really communicating better this year than what I've seen. So I'm very hopeful that that will continue. Like I said, we're definitely not sharing setup sheets between teams because they want to win races, we want to win races. So it's not to that point, but some of the basic information they are doing a much better job of having that across the board to try to make Chevrolet as a group better.
Justin, you up?
I love the pause. I'm up. I guess, Mark, I know I've asked a few questions, but how about a time when you took a big swing and it worked or didn't work? You know what I mean? Like where you said, you know what, guys, screw it. I'm sitting here on the pit box with my headset on, and I'm just gonna make the call right now. Like you said, it's not a committee, it's all on Mark. And you go, let's roll the dice, boys. If this is gonna work, it's gonna work. And if it doesn't, we're coming home 28th.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean, we've had some races, unfortunately, over the 3 years I've been there, where the car just wasn't great. And it's tough. Jeremy gets upset, I get upset on the box, and absolutely I'll throw the kitchen sink at it. We'll be changing the air pressure, wedge, track bar. I mean, everything, packers in and out, shock adjustments, some stuff that's really unheard of, during a regular pit stop. But I'm not afraid to do whatever it takes to try to make that car drivable for Jeremy. And like I said, yeah, there's been several times that he's not very happy with me at the end of the day, but he knows that I'm doing everything I can to give him the best car possible. And this is racing. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be pretty, but we're going to keep working on it the best we can, and we're going to work on it as a team, and we're going to fight together till the end. And that's one thing I can say about this group. There's no give up in them. That's for sure.
Yeah, I love that, Mark. And again, in meeting you guys and the rest of the crew, I mean, just amazing dudes. And yeah, I love that passion.
Oh, absolutely.
I
It
feel
takes
you.
it. I mean, if I didn't love it, I wouldn't be driving an hour and a half one way to get to the shop down there in South Carolina. I'd
Yeah.
find something a little bit closer to home. So
Absolutely. So how much fun is it when you're on the pit box and you go, Jeremy, give me a 1 out of 10. How's she handling it? And I think I've heard him at one point in time say -20. Like, is that helpful? Is that when you're on top of the pit box trying to make adjustments for him? Does or this sucks shit, or I hate it?
yeah,
How do you
we have to.
navigate? How do you navigate the driver's lingo of this sucks ass, this blows?
Yeah, that's when you say, all right, Jeremy, I know it sucks, but I need you to be a little bit more specific on what you're feeling. Yeah.
Not
I understand this sucks right now. I can tell it's not driving great. But yeah, we have to just be a little bit more specific on what exactly sucks. Is it the entry? Is it the middle? Is it the exit? Are we too loose? Are we too tight? Are we on the splitter? Is it digging into the track on the splitter? So yeah, I mean it's such a passion driven sport with the highs and the lows of racing. And it's just something you have to work through. So I think I've heard it about all of it at some point on the radio, and it's not always pretty, and it's not always something you'd want may not want your kids listening to at some point. But at the end of the day, we're going to fight to the end.
How do you get him to calm down when he's fired up?
I mean, I don't know that he ever, if it's bad, I don't know if he's ever going to, he's not going to ever calm down completely, because he's out there working his butt off in a car that's 110, 20, 130 degrees inside, sweating, and all he's hearing on the radio is car high, car low, another one inside, outside, and it's not fun, and he drives with his heart on his sleeve. And so I get it. It's I just got to do my job and put feelings to the side at that point and try to make the best decisions possible to salvage the best day that we can. And at the end of the day, you never know how that's going to pay off at the end of the point season. So every position counts, and so we just got to stay focused and keep working until they drop that checkered flag, because you never know. Just like at Daytona, you never know what's going to happen.
God, that was amazing. What was going through your head, Mark? What was going through your head?
I was just going to ask the same thing.
What was going through your head, man? Because we were all jumping on our couches, jumping up and down. It's 3:00 in the morning in Wisconsin.
It's really hard to describe the range of emotions from, we had started the race, then it got delayed, sometime after midnight, we're going back racing. The big crash is going to happen at some point. You're just praying that you're not going to be in it. So you can have that car to take to the next super speedway race. And, we were up front there for a little while, and Jeremy's like, guys, I'm going to drop back. I can tell, I just got a feeling, these guys are just racing too hard. And so we fell back to the back, and we talked about on the radio about trying to go. It was getting there towards the end, and he says, I don't think they're done. And the next thing I know, you start hearing them talk about caution, go high, go low, hold your line, just slow down. And we go from 24th to about 5th, driving through a Days of Thunder type wreck that you watch during the movie. And then a couple cautions later, between Allmendinger spinning out Noah Gragson and crashing him, and the two car having battery issues or fuel issues, whatever he was having, we start on the front row, and the rest of it, we need to go back on YouTube and watch the finish of that race again, because it was amazing to see it and watch it and have the lead and take the white flag, knowing that no matter what happened, the race was going to be over, whether it was a caution or the checker flag. And then the yellow flies, and we're out front, and to hear the spotter call the win, and Jeremy come on the radio, can you believe this? I mean, it's something, the highlight of my career, even over all the wins that I had as a driver myself on short tracks and at Bristol. That Daytona win is right there at the very top.
Well, I told Jeremy this, and I'll tell you too, and it's live here so everybody can hear it. Next race Jeremy wins, I will get a tattoo. I've already made a promise to Jeremy I would do it.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can make you have to own up to that this season.
I want to do it.
I'm not doing it. I'm nope.
I'll sign your chest, and you can get that tattooed there.
All right, so Rob, you got to ask him so that way we can, because I know Ray's watching. I know he is.
So Ray Stevens from Flying Form, who is one of Jeremy's sponsors, wanted me to us to ask you, Mark, how many chests have you signed at a racetrack?
Well, I have to be careful because my wife is over here behind you where nobody can see on the screen. So I have to watch what I say here. But no, actually, I think it was just Ray's. I think Ray's is the only one that I've signed at the racetrack. But I know that doesn't sound as glamorous as what everybody would hope. But yeah, Ray is a great guy. We cut up and stuff at the shop at the racetrack, and he's a great partner there for us at Jeremy Clements Racing. But yeah, he next time I sign his chest, he just needs to go ahead and go get it tattooed on there, so he'll have it forever.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Did he get it tattooed then?
No, he didn't. But I think he should. I think I need to text.
I think so too.
I need to sign that again, and him just go ahead and get it tattooed there.
Anyone else?
I think we all agree on that one.
I'm feeling like Mark's not I mean, it is what it is. Mark's wife is right off camera to the right.
Say hey, Dana.
Hi.
So Dana's over there, and Mark's going, I knew I should have put my headphones in. Damn. So that was a good, yeah. I'm sure 0 at Hickory Motor Speedway after winning a race, but yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Oh
sure.
yeah. Well, my wife was Miss Hickory Speedway there for a while when I was racing. So
Oh,
when I was in victory lane, a lot of times it was with her before she was my wife. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that's Rays is the only chest that I've signed.
so how amazing too, Mark, was like not. I know we're on here talking about Mark Setzer, Jeremy Clements, crew chief, right? But I mean, that's a historic place, right? Hickory,
Yes, yeah,
just a tad, just a
yeah.
tad.
I mean, it's
So
they sell themselves or advertise themselves as America's most famous short track, and I mean all the greats have raced there. The Busch Grand National Series, raced there for years and years. So the Earnhardts, the Petties, everybody has raced at Hickory Motor Speedway. When Dale Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt and Kerry Earnhardt were racing late models, they raced at Hickory. Dale Jr. finally migrated down towards Myrtle Beach Speedway. Kerry and Kelly stayed there and raced Hickory in Tri-County. So Dale Jarrett's son, Jason Jarrett, raced there. I mean, Kevin Harvick's, Rodney Childers, crew chief for Kevin Harvick for many years, raced at Hickory Speedway. So many people have went through there, have won races, been successful that, I feel fortunate. I think I was the first driver to win a limited late model, a late model super truck, and a late model stock championship there at Hickory Speedway. So we've had a lot of success over the years there and at Tri-County, winning multiple championships. So, racing has been in my blood my whole life. So it's all I've ever done. Work on cars, work on race cars. So it's what I'm going to do until a time that nobody will have me. So we'll hopefully that's not anytime soon.
and you got Miss Hickory.
Exactly. Got Miss Hickory as a bonus there. And so yeah, it's great memories there on the local short tracks and racing myself. And that's led me to the point where I am now.
That's awesome. Yeah, because again, for guys from the north, right? We have a pretty good racing heritage up here. We have some really awesome short tracks up here in Wisconsin or the Midwest. But again, I mean, right, that level of history down south, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And the roots and the names and the people you've walked through, right? Super cool.
Yeah. You look at the board there that they have on the side of the office at Hickory Speedway, and the names that's on that board, from the Ralph Earnhardt to just champions after champions that's come through there. It's just amazing. Just amazing.
Pretty cool.
So Mark, do you ever have the urge to get back into asphalt short track car?
I've been tempted. I've had some people contact me and say, "Hey, you got an off weekend coming up. Let's go take my car to the Hickory and let's go run a race." And I've thought about it, but honestly, when you're going 33 weekends a year, I've got 2 new granddaughters now, one that's just over 2 and one that's coming up to about 7 months. So when I'm not having to go to the racetrack, unless my youngest daughter is here and she's begging me to take her out to Hickory Speedway because she loves it, I generally don't go back to the racetrack. And then when I do go to Hickory with my daughter, and then you're getting stopped every 5 steps to talk to somebody that you haven't seen in 15 years or 20 years, and she's waiting on you there, tapping her foot about, "Come on, Dad, how do you know all these people?" I'm just like, "Honey, I kind of grew up here. I'm, won a few races here, so it's a lot of people wants to talk."
So with that being said too, Mark, so I'm not sure if any of you guys on here saw that little post or tweet or whatever it was from a NASCAR commentator, but he commented on how some guys are talking about not running a full-time schedule, blah, 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 talking about burnout, right? What a Gen Z thing that is. Right? When you're talking about you're on the road 36 weeks a year, whatever that is, it's like, you kind of chuckle a little, Mark, after all the years of doing it, when you hear guys saying, I'm tuckered out. I'm tired.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different than what it was, you know, even when I started in 2008, 2009. Um, then there were more people than there were jobs in racing. Everybody wanted to move to Mooresville, move to Concord, wanted to drive across the country, relocate, and go to work in racing. And now you have teams, Legacy Motor Club, Joe Gibbs Racing are putting posts on social media looking for employees, whether it's a truck driver or an engineer or somebody to run a CNC machine or, you know, a road mechanic. Um, so I can't, I mean, it's such a different atmosphere now. Like I say, it is a full-time job. Um, from the, you know, the hours put in at the shop to getting loaded to then travel days at the racetrack for 2 days, 3 days. And then, you know, on a Xfinity side, you get Sunday home and you're back at the shop on Monday to prep and get ready to go back to the race again. So I understand the burnout, but if you're a true racer, I don't see how you get burnout. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset that if you're getting burnt out, I just don't think you're a racer at heart. Or
Nice.
it's not in your blood.
That is
That
that's
way.
probably the best. We need to make a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah, it's
Gotta,
just
gotta get hold of Abby and Rob from Sticky Gears
that's
to make
right.
make a shirt that says that.
If you're burnt out, you ain't a racer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just, you know, I've raced my whole life, and yeah, I love being home. I love, you know, I love the time with my girls, my granddaughters, but you know, at the end of the day, that's what I want to do. So I sacrifice. I've missed having, you know, the opportunity to walk my daughter out for homecoming and some things like that. But they understand. They know Dad works in racing. My daughter that got married a year ago, she planned her wedding around race season, was just waiting for the schedule to come out. And my middle daughter is getting married, was going to get married during the 3 week break there in August, but she decided to move it out till after the Phoenix race in November. So they understand. I mean, so it's you know, you do miss some stuff as a parent. If you're that dedicated, but it takes it. I mean, this sport is brutal, and you have to live it and love it to succeed in it, and that's what I'm trying to do here at Jeremy Clements Racing. I mean, we've had some great finishes, some great years, and you know, and some hard luck, you know, races. I hate to say last year was a bad year because we had some really great runs going. We just didn't get the finishes we deserved. So, you know, hopefully we got that behind us, and we're gonna move on for this next season and do something amazing.
Well, Mark, we've tied you up for almost an hour.
That's not a problem. I appreciate
Miss-
you having me on, and appreciate what you guys are doing and all the support for Jeremy Clements Racing and all the great sponsors. I mean, without them, I mean, we couldn't do it. I mean, I see the posters behind you guys and the and stuff with Whitetail Smokeless and you know the Driftless Gin, you know, Fox Sports, you know, everybody, you know, Spartan Waste, First Pacific Funding. You know, it takes every one of those guys and gals to support this race team for us to be able to do what we do. And you know, we can't thank everyone enough for all the support. It's just the Jeremy Clements fan base is amazing. No matter what track we go to, you can hear the fans in the stands, and you know, we appreciate them so much, and hope we can meet everybody at the racetrack at some point.
Absolutely. I have one more thing. Mark Nelson just put in the chat. He said, ask Mark about his daughter's wedding dance video he needs to share with the group.
Yeah, that was something that we put together. I'll see if I can find it, and maybe I'll I'll text it to you, or I'll tag it on Facebook again.
Okay.
But all my daughters have been in beauty pageants and dance and everything else, and so yeah, we put a dance routine together for my dad-daughter dance at her wedding, and I you know for a fat guy, I think I did pretty okay for it, and we'll leave it at that, and I'll have to see if I can find it. But I appreciate Mark Nelson, you know, bringing that up. That was a special moment that me and my daughter will have forever. And like I say, Mark Nelson and Mark Mullins there at Spartan Waste are amazing. How they support this race team, even at tracks that obviously isn't in their market, but they're there helping, lending a hand at Martinsville. God love them. One of the worst places to have to load up after a race and push stuff around, and they're just so involved, and it's amazing to have what I call friends. Not just a sponsor, but a true friend that has that kind of support for the team and for the people and for myself and my family. They've been a blessing to us, and we can't thank them enough.
We appreciate you having you on the show, and I plan on having you back on again once the season starts. And we wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and good luck in 2024.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on, and just you let me know. I'll be more than happy to do it again. And like I said, you guys have a Merry Christmas, and we'll hope to see all of you at the racetrack at some point this year.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mark.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you, Mark.
And thanks, Mark. Give Miss Hickory a kiss for us.
Absolutely, I will.
All righty. This is where like we go not live and then we talk to Mark Mark's gone.
All right, so that was our longest episode of 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Oh my God, do we have 16 people now?
We are down to 9.
Damn, we lost. Jeez.
That's okay. I mean, it just started going down.
So Gary was the draw. Gary was absolutely the draw.
We had an amazing episode, guys. We'll be back January 2nd. I believe we have Michael Michelli, the graphics designer. He's going to be on with us. I can't thank everybody enough. Justin, Scott, Rob, thank you guys for everything you guys do. Week 3 in the books. Episode 3, I should say. Gotta thank Spartan Waste, Runner's Roost, Whitetail Smokeless, Beach Ridge, Barbershop, Driftless Glen, First Pacific Funding. I want to give a shout out to Ray at Fly Inform. Can't thank him enough for everything. And Mark and Gary, with that being said, y'all have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you back in the new year.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Cheers.